Jack in the Box plans to close hundreds of underperforming stores. The closures are part of an aggressive financial plan called Jack on Track.
Before you even think about walking through the swinging doors of Texas Roadhouse again, hit pause on that craving, because what you're about to learn might just turn that juicy steak fantasy into a sizzling reality check. See, Texas Roadhouse has built an empire not just on food, but on the idea of food. It's not just a restaurant, it's a performance. The country music, the line dancing waitstaff, the peanut shells crunching under your boots. It's a whole Texas-themed fever dream. But when you start peeling back that deep-fried curtain, what you find underneath might leave a bad taste in your mouth. And I'm not talking about the chili. Let's start where the fantasy begins, the meat. Texas Roadhouse doesn't just serve steak. They practically sing ballads about it. They flaunt the fact that each location has its own in-house butcher, slicing steaks by hand every single day. No vacuum-sealed pre-packaged stuff here. No, sir. It's all about that fresh-cut drama. But here's the kicker. All that slicing and dicing isn't just about freshness. It's about branding. That butcher, he's not just cutting meat, he's carving a narrative. And that narrative costs them over $1 billion a year in meat alone. Yeah, you heard right, $1 billion. That's the kind of budget you'd expect from a luxury car company, not a steak chain with peanut shells on the floor. But here's the thing. When you're burning through $1 billion in beef, someone's footing that bill. Spoiler alert, it's not corporate, it's you. With every oversized plate and jacked up entree price masked by the illusion of Southern hospitality. And let's talk temperature. These steaks don't get tossed in any old fridge. No, sir. They rest in coolers locked at a very specific 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Why? Because 1 degree too high and the meat starts losing quality. 1 degree too low and ice crystals form, destroying the texture. Sounds meticulous, right? But also sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. One slip-up, one broken cooler, one distracted employee, and all that meat turns into a liability faster than you can say medium rare. This obsessive control over freshness isn't just about quality. It's a gamble. A risky, high-stakes, no safety net gamble. Unlike other chains that freeze their meat and cut costs, Texas Roadhouse is walking a tightrope made of raw steak. And if you think they're doing this out of the kindness of their cowboy hearts, think again. They do it because they need to be different. It's their entire brand identity. But when your identity depends on a butcher not calling in sick and a fridge not glitching out, that's not reliability. That's roulette. Now let's pivot to what happens after that steak is cut, the preparation. Because unlike your average microwave happy chain, Texas Roadhouse doesn't hit the reheat button. They make everything from scratch, or so they say. Croutons, mashed potatoes, salad dressings, even the seasoned rice takes 3 hours to prepare. Sounds impressive, right? Until you realize this isn't about flavor. It's about theater, culinary cosplay, to sell you the idea that this isn't a chain. It's your grandma's kitchen with a neon sign. But here's the truth. When you scale scratch-made cooking across hundreds of locations, you're not getting consistency. You're getting chaos in a hairnet. What tasted like comfort food in Kentucky might taste like cafeteria mystery mush in Kansas. Why? Because human prep means human error. And that extra labor? That's more chances for slip-ups, shortcuts, and downright mess-ups. Oh, and those iconic rolls they keep slinging every 5 minutes like some kind of buttery bribe. Each location pumps out over 7,000 a day. That's not generosity, that's psychological warfare. The scent hits you before the menu does. The cinnamon honey butter melts faster than your willpower. It's not just bread, it's bait, and we fall for it every single time. So here's the million-dollar question. Is Texas Roadhouse really serving you tradition? or just selling you a high-stakes steakhouse illusion wrapped in a honky-tonk hug. Let's get one thing straight. Texas Roadhouse is not like other chains. You don't come here for a quiet meal. You come for an experience. The second you walk through those doors, you're hit with a wall of sound. Country music twanging from the speakers, waitstaff hollering birthday wishes, kids laughing, peanut shells cracking like bubble wrap under your boots. And somehow, it all works. This isn't an accident, it's a strategy. Studies have shown that a moderate level of background noise actually enhances taste perception. That's right. The noise makes the food taste better. Wild, right? So Texas Roadhouse cranks the volume not to annoy you, but to stimulate you. That energetic buzz? It's designed to heighten your senses. The music, the chatter, the clatter of plates. It all blends into a symphony of appetite. And when you're in the middle of it, you're not overanalyzing portion sizes or price tags. You're vibing. But here's the real kicker. That energy isn't just ambiance, it's camouflage. Kids throwing fries? Not a problem. Spilled drinks? Didn't notice. Your toddler screams like a banshee halfway through the mac and cheese? Totally fine. The guy at the next table just let out a celebratory yeehaw over his T-bone. It's loud, it's chaotic, and it's liberating. Parents don't have to apologize. Servers don't have to tiptoe. It's a controlled storm where everyone's welcome. And then, the dancing starts. If you've never witnessed the pure madness of a Texas Roadhouse line dance breaking out in the middle of your dinner, let me paint the picture. A country hit blasts through the speakers, your server drops a tray of peanuts, and suddenly, boom, they're two-stepping between tables like they're auditioning for a rodeo-themed flash mob. It's absurd, it's unnecessary, and somehow, it's brilliant. Because it makes people remember. In a world where chain restaurants blur into one beige, microwaved memory, Texas Roadhouse gives you something you'll tell your friends about. Something that makes your kids want to come back. Something that makes your birthday dinner feel more like a celebration and less like a sad plate of ribs and awkward small talk. Now, here's where we give credit where it's due. Texas Roadhouse knows how to make people feel good, and that feeling, it's addictive. You associate the joy, the laughter, the chaos with the food. And that's powerful. Because when people remember how a place felt, they come back, even if the food wasn't perfect. But don't let the good vibes fool you. That atmosphere? It's doing heavy lifting. It's not just about fun, it's about distraction. A deliberate redirection of your senses. You're so caught up in the rhythm and roar of the room that you don't notice the little things. The portion that got smaller, the steak that's a little overdone, the bill that's creeping higher, because you're happy. And here's the part they've mastered, creating that happiness on command in every location. Whether you're in Ohio or Oklahoma, you're getting the same boisterous welcome, the same birthday saddle parade, the same peanut shell crunch underfoot. That's brand consistency, and it's one of the reasons people love this place. Texas Roadhouse has built an emotional loop, one that starts the moment you sit down and doesn't stop until you're loosening your belt and licking cinnamon butter off your fingers. Even the peanuts serve a purpose. They're not just a free snack. They're part of the ecosystem. Cracking shells keeps your hands busy. Tossing them on the floor? That's a freedom few other restaurants would dare allow. It makes you feel relaxed, uninhibited. And when you feel that way, you spend more. Nothing in this atmosphere is accidental. Everything is orchestrated to keep your attention high and your objections low. It's distraction by design. But here's the twist. That doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, it's kinda brilliant. Because when a restaurant chain can deliver that level of consistency, energy, and emotional payoff, without becoming cheesy or overdone. That's not just marketing. That's mastery. Let's talk about the one thing that gets people through the door faster than the smell of sizzling steak. Free stuff. At Texas Roadhouse, the moment you sit down, you're greeted with not one, but two gestures of generosity. First, the peanuts. Not a dainty bowl, not a corporate safe serving in a tiny bag. Nope, we're talking buckets. Buckets of salty, crack open yourself, throw the shells on the floor peanuts. It's a little chaotic, a little messy, and totally brilliant. Why? Because those peanuts aren't just a snack. They're a signal. They tell you, relax, kick back, be yourself. You don't need a napkin for every crumb here. You're not in some white tablecloth joint where the waiter judges your fork grip. This is Texas Roadhouse, where peanut shells on the floor are part of the vibe. And people love it. It's not just food, it's freedom. But then, just when you think you've reached peak comfort, here come the rolls. Fresh baked, golden brown, pillowy soft yeast rolls that glide out of the oven every 5 minutes. Not a metaphor, every 5 minutes. That means no matter when you walk in, lunch, dinner, 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, someone, somewhere in the back is pulling a tray of heaven out of a hot oven just for you. And let's be honest, these aren't just rolls. They're emotional support carbs. And the cinnamon honey butter? Don't even get me started. It's not a spread, it's an experience. Creamy, sweet, slightly salty, melting instantly on that warm bread like it was always meant to be there. People don't just like it, they develop full-blown relationships with it. There are Facebook fan pages, there are DIY copycat recipes with hundreds of thousands of views. Someone literally wrote a poem about the rolls and it got framed in their local restaurant. This isn't marketing, it's a movement. And here's the kicker, they don't charge a cent for it. No surprise fees, no extra for butter nonsense. It's on the house. In an era where fast casual spots are nickel and diming you for every dipping sauce and crumb of bread, Texas Roadhouse goes all in on the warm welcome. And that welcome becomes addiction. Families make detours for these rolls. College kids show up just for bread and water. Pregnant women have cravings that lead to 11 p.m. roll runs. People literally dream about them. And Texas Roadhouse? They lean into it. They don't try to upsell you before you've even opened the menu. They let the food and the feelings do the talking. Now combine that with a menu that's barely changed in decades. That's right. While other restaurants chase trends and reinvent their dishes every season, Texas Roadhouse holds the line. They're not hopping on the truffle oil Wagyu avocado toast bandwagon. They're serving what they've always served. Hand-cut steaks, fall-off-the-bone ribs, and made-from-scratch sides that never try to be anything other than what they are. Comforting, consistent, craveable. And you know what? That's powerful. In a world where every meal comes with a QR code and a social media hashtag, sometimes people just want a plate of food that tastes the same as it did 15 years ago. No surprises, no gimmicks, just reliable, belly-warming, butter-dripping comfort. So you've been swept away by the smell of sizzling meat, the rhythm of the line dancing, and the hypnotic pull of warm, buttery rolls. But here's a twist you didn't see coming. While everyone's focused on the food and fun, Texas Roadhouse is quietly running one of the most calculated business models in the industry. And they're doing it so well, you don't even notice. Let's talk money. Because under all the cowboy charm and peanut shell crunch, there's a spreadsheet that would make Wall Street weep. While some chains are jacking up prices just to survive, Texas Roadhouse has figured out how to offer massive portions, free bread, and a full-blown performance, and still walk away profitable. How? 2 words: value engineering. Every menu item, every portion, every freebie is part of a bigger plan. Early bird specials between 4 and 6 p.m., not just a kind gesture like they keep the kitchen busy during slow hours. Lunch portions of popular entrees, smaller sizes, smaller prices, but the same psychological satisfaction. Kids' meals with 2 sides and a drink for under $7? That's not charity. That's an investment in future loyalty. But here's where it gets really interesting. The menu doesn't change. Texas Roadhouse has barely touched its core offerings in decades. While other restaurants chase TikTok trends and seasonal flash in the pan dishes, TR stays planted. The same hand-cut steaks, the same ribs, the same sides. And that's not laziness. That's discipline. That's knowing exactly who you are and refusing to dilute it. In the last 10 years, they've added fewer than 5 permanent items to their menu. Why? Because every time you introduce something new, you add complexity to prep, to staffing, to consistency. Texas Roadhouse said no thanks. They chose mastery over novelty. And in doing so, they created something rare. Predictability that people trust. Families don't want to read a 12-page menu and gamble on something weirdly named after a city they've never been to. They want to know that the steak they loved last year will taste exactly the same today. And at Texas Roadhouse, it does. But here's the paradox. The place that makes you feel like you're getting a deal is still making huge profits. They're not cheap, they're just smart. Profit margins at Texas Roadhouse are roughly 15% lower than many of their competitors, but the foot traffic is higher. The loyalty is stronger. The return visits? Off the charts. Add in their local charity programs, veteran meal donations, and disaster relief efforts, and suddenly this isn't just a restaurant chain. It's a movement with a cash register, one that knows exactly how to make you feel good while keeping their numbers even better. Because here's the truth, Texas Roadhouse doesn't survive by tricking you. They thrive by making you feel like you win. You get full, you get entertained, you leave smiling, and all the while, they've built a machine behind the scenes that keeps that experience running. Flawlessly, consistently, profitably. So next time you're diving into that juicy filet or watching your server two-step past your table, remember, what looks like a casual, rowdy steakhouse is actually one of the tightest run operations in the entire industry. And that might be the most impressive part of all. By now, you've seen the steaks, the dancing, the rolls, the business. But there's one more reason people keep coming back to Texas Roadhouse. And it's not on the menu. It's not even something you can taste. It's something you feel. It's belonging. Texas Roadhouse doesn't just serve dinner. It serves community. It's one of the few places left where you can walk in and feel like you're part of something bigger than your order. You're not customer number 144 waiting for a buzzer. You're someone they'll high-five on the way to the table. Someone whose kid gets crayons and whose grandma gets the best booth. The staff doesn't just move fast. They move with purpose. They know the regulars. They remember your favorite drink. They two-step with more joy than most people bring to an actual job. That energy, it's infectious. It spills into the dining room, into the way people laugh, into the way strangers strike up conversations over buckets of peanuts. It's messy, it's loud, it's completely unfiltered, and it's real. You'll see families 3 generations deep, sharing bread and memories. Veterans proudly wearing their hats, getting handshakes and thank yous. Kids getting excited just to sit on the birthday saddle while the whole restaurant erupts into a chaotic, off-key chorus of celebration. These aren't marketing gimmicks, they're rituals. Rituals that turn a simple steak dinner into something you remember. And that's the secret. In a world obsessed with speed, efficiency, and digital everything, Texas Roadhouse slows it down just enough. It reminds people what it's like to sit, to talk, to connect. No apps, no QR codes, no AI ordering kiosks with creepy voices. Just servers with actual personalities, food made by hand, and moments that feel human again. Even the mess is part of the charm. Peanut shells on the floor? That's not a hazard. It's tradition. It's a little chaotic, sure, but it sends a message. Perfection isn't required here. You can drop a napkin, spill your tea, laugh too loud. It's okay, because no one's judging. And that kind of emotional safety, that's rare. And maybe that's why people defend Texas Roadhouse so passionately. It's not just about steak, it's about comfort. It's about a place that doesn't change just to chase trends. That doesn't apologize for being loud, proud, and just a little bit weird. In a world full of slick corporate chains trying to act like they know you, Texas Roadhouse actually does. So yes, they've got great rolls. Yes, the steak is solid. But what they've really built, what they've truly mastered, is a feeling. One that's hard to fake, harder to replicate, and nearly impossible to forget. Because long after the cinnamon butter has melted, long after the check's been paid, and your boots crunch back through the peanut shells on the way out, you'll still be thinking about it. And chances are, you'll be back. Not because you're hungry, but because that honky-tonk hug is the one thing you didn't realize you needed. If this video hit you right in the feels, or just made you crave a roll with extra honey butter, do us a favor. Smash that like button, share it with someone who needs a taste of that Texas comfort, and make sure you subscribe to Frugal Pro for more no BS deep dives into the places we love, hate, and can't stop talking about. See you in the next one.